Elaine Showalter's Sister's Choice, Tradition, and Change in American Women's Writing explores the evolution of women's literature in America, focusing on how female writers have navigated the intersection of tradition and innovation. The book examines the ways women authors have claimed their creative space within a literary canon historically dominated by men. Showalter addresses key themes such as the representation of women's experiences, the development of a distinct female literary tradition, and the tensions between cultural expectations and artistic freedom. The book's title references Sister's Choice, a quilting pattern often associated with women's creative agency within domestic confines. For Showalter, the quilt serves as a metaphor for women's writing, a medium where individual artistry is expressed within the constraints of tradition. This imagery underscores the central argument of the book. Women writers both inherit and transform the cultural and literary traditions available to them, creating new spaces for storytelling and self-expression. Showalter begins by situating American women's writing within a broader historical and cultural framework. She argues that women's literature has often been marginalized, viewed as secondary to the works of their male counterparts. This marginalization, she suggests, reflects broader societal attitudes about gender roles and creative authority. Despite these challenges, women authors have developed a vibrant literary tradition that engages with issues such as identity, domesticity, social reform, and personal freedom. Showalter traces this tradition from the early works of 19th-century authors like Harriet Beecher Stowe and Lisa May Alcott to contemporary voices such as Alice Walker and Toni Morrison. A key focus of the book is the relationship between women's writing and the domestic sphere. Showalter explores how female authors have used domestic settings and themes as both a constraint and a source of creative inspiration. For instance, the 19th-century domestic novel often portrayed women's lives within the confines of home and family, reflecting societal expectations of femininity. However, Showalter argues that these works also subvert traditional narratives by highlighting women's agency, resilience, and intellectual capacity. In this sense, domestic fiction becomes a site of negotiation between tradition and change. Showalter also addresses the role of race, class, and sexuality in shaping the tradition of women's writing. She emphasizes that American women's literature is not a monolithic category, but a diverse and multifaceted tradition that reflects the experiences of women from various social and cultural backgrounds. By incorporating voices from African American, Native American, and immigrant communities, Showalter highlights the intersectionality of women's literary expression. Authors like Zora Neale Hurston and Marcina Hong Kingston, for example, expand the boundaries of women's literature by incorporating cultural heritage and identity into their narratives. The concept of tradition is central to Showalter's analysis, and she examines how women writers engage with and reinterpret literary conventions. She suggests that American women's writing is characterized by a dual impulse to honor the literary traditions inherited from previous generations, while simultaneously challenging and redefining them. This tension is evident in works like Charlotte Perkins Gilman's The Yellow Wallpaper, which critiques patriarchal structures while employing Gothic literary conventions, or in Alice Walker's The Color Purple, which reclaims and reimagines African American women's history through epistolary storytelling. Another significant theme in the book is the relationship between women's writing and feminism. Showalter explores how feminist movements have influenced and been influenced by women's literature. She argues that literature has often served as a vehicle for articulating feminist concerns, from the suffrage movement to contemporary debates about gender and power. At the same time, she acknowledges the challenges faced by feminist writers, who must navigate the competing demands of artistic integrity, political commitment, and cultural expectation. Showalter's analysis extends to the role of literary criticism in shaping perceptions of women's writing. She critiques the male-dominated literary establishment for its historical neglect of female authors, and calls for a more inclusive and nuanced approach to literary scholarship. By foregrounding the contributions of women writers, Showalter aims to challenge traditional hierarchies and expand the canon to reflect a broader range of voices and experiences. She also advocates for a feminist critical methodology that prioritizes the study of women's texts on their own terms, rather than through the lens of male-centric literary standards. The book is notable for its engagement with the creative process itself. Showalter examines how women writers conceptualize their roles as artists, and the strategies they employ to balance personal and professional identities. She highlights the unique challenges faced by women in a literary world that often undervalues their contributions, from balancing creative work with domestic responsibilities to confronting gendered biases in publishing and criticism. Despite these obstacles, Showalter celebrates the resilience and innovation of women writers, emphasizing their capacity to transform limitations into opportunities for creative expression. One of the strengths of Sister's Choice is its interdisciplinary approach, which incorporates insights from literature, history, sociology, and cultural studies. Showalter's analysis is enriched by her ability to connect individual texts to broader social and cultural trends, offering readers a comprehensive understanding of the evolution of American women's writing. Her use of the quilting metaphor is particularly effective in illustrating the interplay between tradition and change, highlighting the ways in which women's literature reflects both continuity and innovation. The book also raises important questions about the future of women's writing and literary criticism. Showalter challenges readers to consider how emerging voices and perspectives might reshape the literary landscape, and what role feminist criticism can play in fostering a more inclusive and equitable literary culture. By emphasizing the ongoing relevance of women's writing, she underscores the importance of continuing to explore and celebrate the diversity of female literary expression.